Hey there, and welcome to this week's edition of The Wrap. Well, we've made it to the end of the year, and what a year it's been. Heads up, this is the final edition of The Wrap for 2024. You know who did not have a great year? Julius Malema and the EFF. We unpack why 2024 might just go down as Juju's worst year yet. Meanwhile, Taylor Swift's Eras tour wrapped up, breaking records and leaving trails of cash and jet fuel fumes in its wake. Speaking of music, the industry's Me Too moment continues, with Jay-Z now being linked to some of Diddy's alleged shenanigans. Back home, we're tackling education, basic or otherwise, as the GNU remains shaky over the BELA Bill, while the SIU has clawed back over R1 billion from NSFAS. In the Middle East, Syria has banished a dictator, but tensions are still high. Meanwhile, scientists have discovered that moths avoid crybaby plants. It turns out even nature has its drama queens. Oh, and Judy Garland's ruby slippers fetched a price that would make even Cyril's sofa stash blush. We close things off by delving into the murky world of zamas. As we sign off for the new year, or for this year rather, we wish you and yours a wonderful and safe festive season filled with laughter, love, and joy. We'll be back in January with more news that's as empowering as it is easy to understand. First up, how 2024 was a year to forget for the EFF. As the EFF prepares to hold its national conference on the 11th of December, Julius Malema finds himself navigating one of the most challenging periods of his political career. The conference represents a crucial juncture for the EFF leader, who must consolidate his base and reaffirm his leadership after a turbulent year. The resignations of prominent figures such as Dali Mpofu and, more damagingly, Floyd Shivambu have created a perception of disarray within the party. Shivambu's exit particularly represented a serious loss of intellectual talent. Particularly painful for Malema is that his former comrades have joined the MK party, which was founded by former President Jacob Zuma, who has a troubled history with the EFF leader. After years of steady growth, the EFF experienced a significant setback in the national elections this year, dropping from 44 seats in the National Assembly to 39, or just under 10% of the vote. The party, like the ANC, was seemingly caught off guard by the arrival of the MK party, which took 15% and forced the ANC into a coalition with the DA. While Malema still enjoys substantial support, the National Conference will test his ability to unify a party rocked by instability. This coming conference will examine the future of the party's structures with a significant structure overhaul, including the possible collapse of some regional branches and the student command reportedly on the program. Such measures acknowledge the organizational weakness that have hampered the party's effectiveness, but could exacerbate the instability issues. For Malema and the EFF, the stakes could not be higher. With the local government elections looming in just over a year, there is very little time to correct things and put the party back on the rise it enjoyed over the first 10 years of its existence. Meanwhile, in the big story, the coalition honeymoon is definitely over. President Cyril faces growing internal pressure from the ANC to fire Siviwe Gwarube, the Minister of Basic Education, over her handling of the contentious Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill, the BELA Act. But the DA has made it clear, touch our minister and the Government of National Unity, or the GNU, is over. The BELA Act, signed into law 3 months ago, has sparked heated debates. 2 controversial clauses dealing with school admissions and language policies have been withheld for further consultation. Gwarube, acting in line with DA policy, facilitated discussions with the Union Solidarity through NEDLAC, leading to a settlement. Last week, we told you about Gwarube's announcement of a supposed breakthrough on the BELA Act after negotiations at NEDLAC. While hailed as a victory at the time, the announcement quickly unraveled as key players in the GNU expressed outrage over being left out of the loop. DA leader John Steenhuisen is now fuming over suggestions that Gwarube could be fired. He said in a statement the DA rejects any attempt by a faction of the ANC to influence the president to fire Minister Siviwe Gwarube or any other DA minister for doing their jobs. Doing so would signal an end to the Government of National Unity, Steenhuisen said in a statement released by his party on Sunday. Steenhuisen accused the ANC of misinformation, emphasizing that the NEDLAC agreements were mandatory under law to avoid strike action. The fact that the presidency has distanced himself from this legislative process, which they were party to, is as disgraceful as it is confusing, he said. The ANC faction calling for Gwarube's removal alleges she prematurely claimed an agreement with Solidarity on the BELA Act, leading to public rebukes from Ramaphosa and Deputy President Paul Mashatile. In a statement to IOL, NEDLAC Executive Director Lisa Seftel clarified that the agreement only binds the Minister in solidarity. For now, the ball is in Ramaphosa's court. In some international news, Taylor Swift's Eras tour wrapped up this week after touring 6 continents, breaking records and captivating over 10 million fans. While Africa was notably absent from the so-called world tour schedule, the 18th-month journey left an indelible mark on music, business and culture. Here are 3 key takeaways. First, cities that hosted her shows saw their economies booming as Swifties flocked in, booking hotels, eating out, shopping, and getting those friendship bracelets. Local businesses thrived, and the buzz around her concerts turned quiet seasons into gold mines. In London, 3 shows in June and 5 in August brought in an estimated 6.8 billion rand for the local economy. This was based on 700,000 people attending the concerts, leading to increased flights and hotel bookings. In Singapore, her 6 shows generated between 4.6 and 6.7 billion rand in tourism revenue, with Singapore being the only Southeast Asian stop. 70% of concert goers flew in from other countries. Also, Taylor became a billionaire. By November 2023, she became the world's richest female musician, with a net worth of over 28.5 billion rand. While we're not sure there's such a thing as an ethical billionaire, Taylor proved you can treat workers well. We're looking at you, Jeff Bezos. Over 2 years, she gave her team 3.5 billion rand in bonuses. Everyone from truck drivers to caterers, riggers, lighting crews, and wardrobe stylists got a piece of the pie. In 2023, she made headlines for giving each truck driver a 1.8 million rand bonus after wrapping up the US tour. She also donated generously to food banks in the cities her tour visited. Finally, some critics raised concern about the environmental impact of her extensive travel. With constant jet setting, the tour contributed significantly to carbon emissions. Her personal use of her private jet for seemingly frivolous trips outside of the tour has previously raised concerns, as has her legal team's attempts to silence a college student who used publicly available information to publish her jet usage. Nevertheless, Taylor Swift's Eras tour was truly one for the history books. In more international news, the world looked on in shock this week at the sudden fall of Syria's President Bashar al-Assad after 5 decades of his family's dictatorial rule. On 8th of December, Assad fled to Russia following rapid rebel advances, leaving behind a power vacuum with far-reaching implications for the region. The roots of Syria's turmoil can be traced back to the Arab Spring in 2011, when peaceful protests demanding reforms were met with brutal crackdowns by Assad's regime. This heavy-handed approach escalated tensions into a full-blown civil war. Despite maintaining control for years with backing from Russia and Iran, Assad's regime grew increasingly vulnerable. Russia is now preoccupied with the war in Ukraine, while Iran grapples with military challenges across the region. The recent surge in rebel activity led by the opposition group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham proved decisive. Their military campaign, dubbed a deterrence of aggression, saw rebels capture key territories including Aleppo, Idlib, and Hama. The fall of Aleppo, a symbolic and strategic city, dealt a severe blow to Assad's control. On Sunday, Damascus was taken unopposed, and the infamous Sednaya prison was stormed, freeing thousands of political dissidents and detainees. What does it mean for the region? Neighboring Israel is particularly alert to the changes. It has intensified military operations, including airstrikes in Syria, to prevent weapons from falling into its enemies' hands. On the 7th of December, Israel temporarily seized the demilitarized Golan Heights buffer zone, citing security concerns. While Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said these actions are temporary, their impact on regional stability remains unclear. The fall of Assad's regime also signals a shift in long-standing geopolitical alignments. Both Russia and Iran have relied heavily on Assad's rule to maintain influence in the Middle East. With their focus divided by other conflicts, the power vacuum in Syria could further destabilize the region. The United Nations has already started reducing its presence, citing safety concerns as the country faces an uncertain future. For Syrians, there is a palpable sense of relief at the fall of an authoritarian regime that ruled for more than 5 decades. However, the road ahead is far from stable. While the end of Assad's rule signals hope for change, being governed by rebels with their agenda could bring about new challenges. In some lighter news, how much would you be willing to pay for a prop from your favorite movie of all time? A mysterious bidder bought the iconic ruby slippers Judy Garland wore in 1939's The Wizard of Oz at an auction in Dallas, USA, for an eye-watering $2.8 million. That's 500 million rands. This all happened as we've been holding space, inside fan joke, for the movie's prequel, Wicked, which is currently taking the world by storm. The previous record holder for the most expensive movie prop ever sold was Marilyn Monroe's famous white dress from the 7-Year Itch, which sold for over $4 million in 2011. Now, the shoes worn by Garland have a storied history. Let's walk the yellow brick road to find out more. Firstly, in the original book, the slippers are silver, not ruby red. When the movie was released in 1939, a new technology, Technicolor, was emerging, and silver just did not translate that well on screen. So they gave them a pop of red, and the rest is history. Designed by Gilbert Adrian, MGM's chief costume designer at the time, it's believed that 6 or 7 pairs were made for the film. Only 4 are accounted for today, the ones that recently broke the record, a pair kept at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., a pair in a private collection, and another pair at the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences. Now, the recently sold pair was stolen in 2005 from the Judy Garland Museum in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, where the Dorothy actress was born. They weren't found until 2018 when the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, recovered them in a sting operation. From Minnesota, Terry John Martin was named the robber in 2023. He pleaded guilty later that year and was sentenced earlier this year to supervised release due to his health. While the bidder's name hasn't been made public, someone owns a part of film history somewhere out there, over the rainbow. On to more local news, the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, or NSFAS, a lifeline for thousands of students, is under fire again. On Friday, the Special Investigating Unit, the SIU, revealed that it had recovered a staggering 1.7 billion rand in misallocated funds. The funds, unaccounted for between 2016 and 2021, shine a glaring spotlight on NSFAS's broken financial systems and leave us wondering, how can it truly support South African students if it can't get its own house in order? Some background: President Cyril gave the green light for the SIU investigation in 2022, and it did not take long to uncover the root of the problem. NSFAS did not have actual systems in place, or proper systems rather, to match the money it handed out with what registered students actually needed. These unallocated amounts, often caused by students receiving multiple funding sources or changes in study costs, were left sitting unused at various institutions. According to SIU spokesperson Kaiser Khanyago, the investigation revealed NSFAS failed to design and implement controls that would ensure annual reconciliation between the funds disbursed to institutions and the funded list of registered students. Among the institutions returning millions in allocated funds are the University of Witwatersrand, WITS, with 450 million rand, University of the Free State, UFS, with 438 million rand, Takis, or the University of Pretoria, with 400 million rand, and UJ, with 312 million rand. The revelations come on the heel of the April 2024 dissolution of the NSFAS board, which was placed under administration. Experts say further structural reforms are needed. One, Sakisene Joseph Iyende, a postdoctoral fellow at the University of the Western Cape, says NSFAS faces unpaid loans from graduates, reduced funding for current students, and an ongoing corruption crisis. Now, NSFAS cut ties with its direct payment service providers in May to curb further financial mismanagement. These providers had left thousands of students stranded when their allowances failed to come through. However, this offers little comfort to students still grappling with unpaid stipends and administrative failures. While the recovery of 1.7 billion rand offers a glimmer of accountability, it also serves as a stark reminder of the work still needed to transform NSFAS into a reliable safety net for South Africa's students. In some other light-hearted news, ever heard of a crying plant? No, we're not talking about tears rolling down leaves. When some plants are stressed through dehydration or other hardship, they release tiny ultrasonic clicks. Humans can't hear them, but some insects, like moths, can. And here's the twist. Moths might listen to these plants' cries to decide where to lay their eggs. For female moths, deciding where to lay their eggs is serious business. Their babies need a healthy plant with plenty of food to survive. Dr. Raya Salzer, an entomologist at Tel Aviv University, and her team put this to the test. They set up an experiment with 2 tomato plants. One was hydrated and quiet. The other was also healthy, but playing recorded cries from a stressed tomato plant meant that, guess what? The moths flocked to the quiet plant. This shows that moths don't just hear these clicks, they also figure out what they mean. They're saying, thanks for the warning, stressed out plant, will pass. Scientists believe this is just the beginning. Many insects hear ultrasonic sounds, and many plants release these sounds under stress. This type of communication likely happens more often than we realize, helping insects make important decisions about where to live, eat, or lay eggs. Experts like sensory ecologist Jody Sedlock and zoologist Francesca Barbero are excited about these findings, but say more research is needed. How do moths mix these plant sounds with other signals, like smells? And does this happen in the wild, or is it just a lab thing? One thing's for sure, the idea of plants talking to insects with sound is wild and opens up a whole new world of nature's hidden conversations. Who knew moths were such good listeners? Finally, the music world is reeling after news broke on Sunday that a civil lawsuit had been filed against entertainment mogul Jay-Z, accusing him of raping a 13-year-old alongside fellow hip-hop star Sean Combs, aka Diddy. The original complaint did not initially name Jay-Z, real name Sean Carter, but the updated lawsuit filed Sunday dropped the bombshell that celebrity A was in fact Jay-Z. The complaint makes the explosive allegation that the pair repeatedly raped a minor at an after-party following the MTV Video Music Awards back in September 2000. The complaint says another celebrity stood by and watched as Combs and Carter took turns assaulting the minor. Many others were present at the after-party but did nothing to stop the assault. Following legal action against several big names in music of late, such as R. Kelly and Combs, speculation has been rife that Jay-Z was next. Texas-based lawyer Tony Busby brought the case under New York's Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Act. Within hours, the rapper stated via the Instagram account of his company, Rock Nation, slamming Busby and accusing him of a pattern of blackmail in these sorts of cases. Busby issued his own response to Jay-Z via Twitter within minutes, noting that the rapper had previously attempted to silence the victim. This is the latest in a series of similar cases brought against previously untouchable figures in the U.S. music industry. As we've told you before, Jay-Z's co-accused has experienced a major fall from grace as allegations against him mount. Combs was arrested earlier this year on September and charged with racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution. This was all linked to his notorious freak-off parties. This latest case is a string aimed at powerful Hollywood men who have acted like they have absolute power over everybody under them and have abused it. Finally, they are facing justice, even for the most powerful and famous. The era of impunity is over. That's it from us on The Wrap. We'll look forward to seeing you again next year. Tell your friends to sign up at explain.coza/subscribe. Till next year, goodbye.